Okay. So Owen is the founder of WorkGrain, a Reno company that helps business owners actually put AI to work in businesses. He builds AI systems that capture how a business really runs, and he runs his own company on the same system he built for his clients. Owen, come on up.
Thank you. So thank you. My name is Owen. I just joined this BNI group that meets here in this room like 2 months ago. And it's been a really good experience so far. And this phrase, your business shouldn't live in your head, is kind of the phrase that I want you to start thinking about as I'm talking. And this isn't like a sales pitch or anything. I'm just kind of want to teach you how I've thought about AI and how I've developed my AI skills over the last year. That's when I started this business. And here are three things that I want you to take from this presentation is a straight answer about what AI is actually good at in real estate, what it's not good at, and why most investors quit before it gets useful. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is the 60-20-20 rule, which is the one idea about how I kind of think about this stuff. And it's really like just the structure behind how AI actually interacts with your information. And then I'm gonna give you one thing to do this week that you can do yourself so that you can use AI a little better. The most valuable asset that you guys have is invisible. And that is all of the ideas and past experiences that you have had within your jobs. All that lives within your head. Your buy box, as that's kind of the slang that investors use, exists nowhere but your head. And that kind of entails your history with all the people that you've worked with, like all the contractors you've worked with, who's fast, who's slow, who pads their jobs, who calls back, who's unreliable, all that information. The way you talk to tenants, lenders, and agents, basically how you talk to them in your voice, your judgment. And then if you've been in this industry for a while, you have years and years of information of what's worked and what's burned you in your job and what you actually do. And none of that's written down. It's all in your head about it's all in your head. It's the invisible business. And that's why AI hasn't really helped you yet, because you haven't had any structure. And what I like to explain to people is that you've probably just used the shallow end of AI, which what that entails is just having ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or Copilot, whatever you want to use, just open in a chat window. And you use it once, you ask it a question, and it doesn't remember anything. And this line I like. It's like hiring a new assistant every morning who has amnesia. They don't necessarily know or remember the information that you might have given it that previous day. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's where everyone starts with using AI, because that's where everyone has the same access. And there's a level deeper than that that actually buys your time back. And that's kind of what I want to explain to you guys. So it's not that AI doesn't work for you. It's that it's never met your business and how you do things. You ask it a generic question, you get a generic answer. So say you say, analyze this duplex in ChatGPT with no context, and it'll basically give the same answer that any other investor who asks that same question, it'll just give you the same answer. But if you give it your buy box, your past deals, your standards, and then ask that same question, it uses your criteria to actually answer in the way that you would answer. It knows your business got burned on a foundation in 2022, and it checks that first. Now it answers like someone who essentially works for you, because in a real sense it does, because it knows who you are and the information that you have within your business. And the fix isn't necessarily like a better prompt. I know that a lot of people talk about like prompt templates and expert prompts, but actually giving AI all of your business information And the way that you talk about things is a much better prompt than finding that perfect prompt. You can just talk about a deal, about a future deal that you're going to do, and that's a way better prompt than giving it like some prompt that you find online. And most of this already exists for everyone in this room. It's 10 years of deals, reports, leases, all sitting in your files, your Google Drive. And that's training data that you already have and you've already paid for, but AI has never read it. And kind of a little example of this is, why do you think Gmail is still free? Because the money is in the data. They aren't collecting one thing on you. They're collecting all of your data to either use or sell, unfortunately. So the magic isn't necessarily in the AI. And I know that's kind of weird because I'm the AI guy, but I mean it literally, and I can put numbers on it. The things that make AI actually useful for your business is the structure. 60% of a whole AI workspace is your buy box, your deal history, your contractor files, all organized so AI can actually find them, read them, and understand them in your context for what you do specifically. And then the other 20% is your rules, your standards that never invent a comp, blank beats a guess. Basically, nothing gets sent out without your approval. And those are rules and guidelines and harnesses that you can put on the AI so it basically you can explicitly tell it how to interact with the information that you have. And then the last 20% is the actual AI, whether that's ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Copilot, Grok. Like there's so many out there that a lot of people use and think like, oh, one's better than the other, but that's not necessarily true. And the people getting real results with AI, like big companies, big enterprise, Fortune 500 companies, is that they build this structure first, and they've recognized that, and they have actual people on their payroll that specialize in stuff like this. And it's my opinion that this first 80% really doesn't require any technical skill, because at the end of the day, all this information is literally just files and folders that live on your computer. And that's been around since basically the beginning of the internet. And yeah, basically you are already qualified to build it. You just don't really have the guidance to it yet. And yes, goes into this slide. Everything that an AI works with is literally just files and folders. The map is basically one file that tells or that describes your whole operation. What you do, your buy box, who's who, how a normal month runs. The AI will read that first. So every single time it answers like someone who actually works there and knows what type of information you work with every single day. And then from that, the map will have basically a room with specific information for specific parts of the business. Your deals, your properties, your contractors, where your money goes. For any task, it knows exactly which room to walk into instead of reading everything as a collective and then basically guessing, because it can't pinpoint the exact information that it's trying to read. And then in each of those rooms, it's all of your actual knowledge, but it's just written down in files. Plain documents on your computer. It's no app, no subscription, nothing locked inside someone else's software. And that's what a lot of people urge you to buy, is rent their software for forever. But what this is owned files and documents and folders that you already have, just organized on your computer in a way that AI can actually read it. And then this is just an example of what a room would look like for this room. You can have a folder called the deal room, which basically has your buy box. It's written down once, the numbers, the neighborhoods, the deal breakers, basically everything that you experience with how you interact with lenders, brokers, whoever you may interact with. It's all written down for AI to read. And you can have every single past deal as a one pager, what you paid, what the rehab really cost, what surprised you. So you can have that information about every single deal that you do. And then when a new address comes in and you say, run this against my criteria, it comes back the way that you analyze it at 10 p.m., whether you're going to bed, waking up in the middle of the day, because it has that reference and it has that context about what you've done in the past and what you look at first, basically. And that's the kind of the beautiful part about this is that once you have all that information organized, every single time that you use it, it becomes that much better. So it's like an ever evolving and changing workspace. And so the same idea is the whole repetitive thinking part that runs in your head about how you think about every single new deal that comes across your table, that will run without you. And say a contractor bid comes in, you can compare it against every single job you've ever done. Like, for example, he bid 12,000 on the Miller job. It came back at 16. Make sure to ask about the line items he pads on his projects because you might not think of that in the moment, but the AI will because it has that reference on it. And then you set it up so like every single Monday morning, you have a briefing that comes across your portfolio about what actually needs you this week, because it's not all about using AI. It's about using AI to focus on what actually needs you. And that's a really, actually, I love that. And then, so say tenant lender emails, you could like, how many hours a week do you guys spend writing emails or drafting emails? Just an average, someone throw out a number.
2 hours.
2 hours. 2 hours a week or 2 hours a day?
I thought you said day.
2 hours a day?
Yeah, said beginning day.
Cool. So what you'd be able to do essentially is, since it has all that past information about how you do things, it'd be able to draft up tenant and lender emails that you'd be able to revise, look over, make sure they sound like you, make sure they have all the necessary information. And then all you have to do is press send. And that is a huge time saver for people. And say for like a morning briefing, I think I already covered that, but everything that needs your attention this week for the jobs that are coming in, for the addresses that are coming in that you need to double check, it'll explicitly tell you that and hold you accountable to actually do the things that you need to do as a human.
Question.
Yes.
How do you get the information in there? Do you have to scan every document you have or?
Yeah, so normally a lot of people, if they've been in this industry for a while, have a place where they put all that information, whether it's just on their computer, in a Google Drive, it could be a lot of
So
different
you
places.
share that with the AI?
Yeah, so basically what I do is organize all that information into a singular folder that the AI can look at and then have reference on everything, basically. So it's my job as a consultant to sit down with someone, understand where their current information lives, and gather all that up and organize it with them. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And that history is gold. Right now, it lives in your memory, and in years of files, nothing has been able to read. So that's the whole idea about how AI can benefit you with the data that you already have within your business. And these are examples of this room's work. So the American International Group is a big investing group, and underwriting, portfolio analysis, and contract review are things that you guys do every single day. And per where it says Anthropic reports, these are real reports from people using Claude, because Claude is Anthropic. That's the parent company. And these are real examples of how much time has been saved through using AI in these very specific processes. And out of these three, which one do you think you spend the most time on?
Contract.
What's the most tedious part of contract review? And like in the manual sense, just reading everything.
Right, making sure everything's correct.
Okay.
No,
perfect.
no, like in Nothing, but yeah, nothing incorrect, basically, I guess.
And then you have to send that over to someone else and they might take X amount of time. So that whole process takes about 60 days roughly, right? I mean, all kind of variable per person, but that process can be minimized so much if it has past contracts that you've done that are revised by you, and then it can use that kind of as a semi template. I know that contracts change and everything, but it'll help you so much in that process of speeding that process up. So yeah, and then just for an example, the way that I was able to have everything drafted in my voice is I use a voice dictation tool to talk to AI. And that might be a little foreign for some people, but I think that voice dictation is far superior to you typing a question that you want to ask. Just because it's so much easier to talk about something than it is to think about something and then try to get it all in writing. And I have a voice dictation tool that I have put about 250,000 words into. I pointed AI at that and said, hey, this is how I communicate with people. And this is how I want my drafts to sound like when I talk to people. And then another example, I've worked with a contractor for about 7 months now, and we've had 34, I think it's 35 calls now, but I basically used all those calls to build his AI brain for his company. And it took all of the way that they do things and the kind of the speech patterns and like just how they interact with me and kind of use that to make their voice file for all customer or client like facing drafts. And that is probably the thing that can be edited and swayed the most because not everyone has that data to feed the voice profile so that it actually does sound like you. So that's a work in progress, but it's a good start. And I think this is probably the coolest thing in this presentation is that I built a AI deal finder that hunts listings and drafts offers to owners, all from a 60-second Instagram video that came across my feed at like 8 p.m. Because for me, I'm on social media a lot as a young person, and a lot of my feed is associated with AI because that's what I interact with. And a lot of people out there post basically the recipes for building out these skills and these tools, but it might all only be in a 60-second video, and they don't give you any options to actually do that yourself. But what I developed is a tool that I can just send that Instagram video to. I have AI watch it, and then it also basically watches the reel. I built a skill that watches the reel, and it can understand all the information that reel is providing, whether it's a step-by-step process to build something, and that's kind of what this was. And it built it in about 30 minutes, and from 50 live listings in Reno, it pulled and ranked against their estimates and found 18 for sale by owner homes across Reno and Sparks, and drafted a cash offer email to each owner. Just a draft, something that you can revise, and you can just send it if it looks appropriate. And all that cost about 10 cents. So, and this was actually under this was the caption for that video. Realtors and brokers are still super valuable. This was way too much work. So like it shows you that this recipe for skills are out there, but not everyone has the structure to make them an actual or make it into an actual physical thing that can benefit them. And yeah, so the recipe is free, but the structure and judgment are the real work. And AI is not necessarily a magic button. And that's what a lot of people want it to be set up as, is they want it to just do all their work and they want to rely on for the perfect answer the first time. But that's not what this is. It's a drafting tool. You decide. So nothing goes out the door without you. It's set up so a blank beats a guess, never let it invent a comp, a rent, a rehab number. And it's a people pleaser. Don't ask, is this a great deal? Better question is, what's wrong with this deal? Because then it'll tell you exactly what's wrong with it based on all of your past data and deals. And it won't fix a business you don't understand. It amplifies whatever you already have and whatever you feed it. So you're still doing the real work, but you're not doing everything twice. You're not doing the repetitive things that you do 10 times a week. You're doing it once. And you don't necessarily have to rent anything at all. It's an owned asset at the end of the day. The whole industry, the whole AI industry is kind of set on this sell AI as a subscription, and then your knowledge ends up locked somewhere else. So say, I don't know exactly what other, like we were talking about this earlier. There's a lot of CRMs out there and tools that you guys already have access to, but you have to give them their data and they basically train on your data. So whenever you decide to leave, you just basically gave them a free gift of your data that they can train on so that they can have a better model, I guess. And the day you stop paying that, you don't have access to it anymore. But what this is plain files on your computer that are locked in and don't change until you edit them. And the one thing that does change with this is the actual AI model, whether it's ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini. There's new models coming out every single day. And your files work with all of them and will outlive every single one of them because the structure for an AI workspace is the asset, not necessarily the model. You can use whatever AI you want. But if you don't have that structured setup, well, like there's no use. And a kind of analogy is you wouldn't build a house you don't, or you wouldn't build a house on land you don't own. It's kind of the same rule. So if I were you guys, I would start with one folder. Pick one thing, the thing that you explain most often or redecide most often. But for most of you, that's your buy box or how you vet a contractor to make sure they're the right fit. Step 2 is to get that out of your head. You can even just talk it into your phone, like I was saying with that voice dictation tool, or just type it into a document. If it's ugly, it's fine. Plain words, the way you'd explain it to someone that you're onboarding or partnering up with. And then step 3 is just point AI at it. Give AI that file and ask it for something real. You can ask it to run a live deal against your buy box, poke holes at your criteria, or hand it a 400-page inspection report and ask what actually matters based on what you have experienced with all of your past deals. So it's no software to buy, it's no system to learn. The only cost is the AI itself, which starts at like $20 a month for Claude and ChatGPT, and you'll feel that difference within the first week. So basically, the whole point of this is get your business out of your head into an owned asset. The knowledge in this room is worth millions of dollars. Your deals, your instincts, your scar tissues. And AI is the first tool that can actually put that to work if you give it something to stand on. So start with one folder this week, and that'll be the beginning of your actual AI journey. So thank you very much. I think that's the last one. Any questions at all? Yes, ma'am.
So when you do pay for your, like we pay for right now, Chat GPT,
Mhm.
it does remember conversations I've had with it.
So conversations, yes, in a sense, but it won't like months down the line. So you can have like one chat for a specific thing, but if say you wanted to start a new session doing something else and you still wanted to have the AI be able to reference that, it's a kind of a collective workspace instead of like one chat talking about one thing. And if you were to go into another ChatGPT chat and ask it something about your habit or that's you're talking about in one chat, it won't remember. So
I mean, I was talking to it about a sick dog I had.
Mhm.
And then I was talking to it about some health issues
Mhm.
and it wanted to know my age and blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
And when it answered me, it said something about, well, you know, being in your age group and blah, 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 blah. And what you're dealing with Rainey, it brought up the conversation about the dog, kind of freaky.
Yeah, it is kind of freaky. And then
But what he's talking about is a little different. You can actually create like,
Talk louder.
so you can actually create like projects. What he's talking about are folders. And it pulls from your computer
Oh,
and then it knows what you do and how you're doing it. And all you have to do is tell it and help you organize that. But you can pull data that you already have and organize it. And then it's gonna be as if, like, I just wrote 2 months of newsletters today using my Claude cowork because it
wow.
knows so much about me now and so much about how, but then I voiced into it what I was going to be doing over the next 2 months and who I was going to be spending time with and what week. And then it uses all that information plus research data, plus, because that's how I write. I'm a psychologist. And so it takes everything that I know and plus what it knows and what it's taking from my files. And it literally sounds just like
Just
it.
like
I
it should.
hardly have to make any, when I first started, I had to make a lot of revisions.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
Owen like
sure.
kind of gave me a lot of stuff that helps me get started, so.
But like I could put a rental agreement in there
Mhm.
and then just tell it to change the names and the address and the amounts.
totally, yeah, if you want, you could do that on any AI platform. But say you want to include the last 20 years of data to use as a reference point for it answering your question about that deal that you're talking with now. It's just so much more helpful because you don't have to remember all those things from the past. So. Any other?
What's the main difference between the version where you just create accounts and paying for the version? Is it what, more memory and interaction?
Sorry, say that one more
I
time.
guess what's the difference between, like you mentioned, like
Free and
the
paid.
paid accounts versus the non-paid accounts?
So the paid accounts allow you to use cowork and code, which is Claude. And that's what allows you to work actually within your computer on a file or in a folder, and not basically just in a chat window on a web browser. So anyone can access Claude or ChatGPT for free, but not everyone can use a code editor because that's what it is at the end of the day. It's not necessarily only for code, but what Claude Cowork and Code do is allow you to create, edit documents, code, PowerPoints, like anything you want to make on your computer, and it saves it in a specific place where you want it. So that's kind of the difference, and it just has a collective and ever evolving context about what you're doing and how you're doing.
So.
And yeah, it starts at 20 bucks and then go all the way up to like 200 bucks a month. Yeah. Any other questions or concerns? I mean,
So I guess my question is, how do you, so you get the paid version, how do you point it to this folder? Like, is that more complicated or is it
no,
pretty?
so within the interface on the desktop app for specifically Claude, you can go into cowork or code, and then it has a select folder. So if there's a file or a folder on your computer, like on your desktop, for example, that's where all of my stuff lives. You can point it towards that folder on your desktop and be like, all right, this is the workspace we're working in with, and it has these types of documents, and you can use AI to analyze it and then do research on stuff as well to create new things, whatever you want. It's a very powerful tool, but you have to learn how to harness it for the work that you actually want to do in your daily life. So, because a lot of people just use it as like a glorified search engine to ask it things like they would ask Google, but this acts different than that in the aspect that it actually knows who you are, and can answer you in a way that would benefit you and only you. So yeah, it's kind of how it's different.
You mentioned that like, companies will try to use AI as like a subscription. And like the advantage that you can have is, have your own files, if you get moved on, so they don't like have that like information. But from like a security standpoint, like if you're like given that information, then say you like stop subscription or like moved, like does that, whoever it's the original like entity owner of, or the AI, do they have like maintain that information?
So there is, yeah, that's an interesting question because for like, I'll just give an example. Say you were on Claude and you transfer over to ChatGPT. All the information, all the processing is all over the cloud for all of these AI providers, basically. So your information gets sent up there, processed, but then it doesn't necessarily get saved by them because you have that option to not share that information with them. And obviously, these are huge companies and they could just be stealing your information anyways. We would have no idea. But that's kind of not the risk you have to run in this day and age, but the internet is the internet. And the way that data is protected is so different per company, where if you value that, that's where you would look for a local LLM person where they can set up your own servers and all that stuff. So all your data is literally local and none of it gets sent up to the cloud. And that's beneficial for like healthcare providers and people who do deal with sensitive information like social security numbers, bank information. So that's kind of a whole different avenue of AI workspaces. Is if you do have information that you need protected for clients and everything, it's going to be way more expensive, other than $20 a month, like in the high five figures probably to set something like that up. So this is just a way simpler alternative to that, and you can basically just use this as a stepping stone to eventually get to that if that's what you're looking for. So does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, for the most part, it's makes sense, just like the internet, like, and give some companies that hold your data, like,
Yeah.
you know,
It's like,
not sure it's like the risk, but it's, it's there.
Yeah.
That something could happen to it.
exactly. And I mean, we run that risk every day using the internet. So it's not much different, to be honest. So
Like if you got if you switch from Chat GPT to Claude or something,
Mhm.
you could say Chat GPT, send all the information over here.
no, because it's all on your computer. So the only thing that's changing is what model is looking at your information. Does that kind of make sense?
To kind of build that structure, what's the best way to start, like talking to it and giving information
Yeah.
about yourself, or just start uploading stuff?
So what I would do is start a folder within Claude Code or Cowork and basically ask it to interview you about what you do for your job so that you can give it that specific information. And then based on that, it's a very good place to start, because then you can give it all this other information that you might already have and ask it to organize that into subfolders within this folder that you're working in. And that's the stuff with this, is you just need to build that singular folder up with all these different subfolders that hold different kinds of information, so that when you do ask AI to, or you ask it a specific question, it knows exactly where to go and how to access the information.
So just, so can it like write emails and go directly to your, your email account and send out an email
Yep.
from you?
Yeah, so actually I didn't even mention this either. There's so many other apps that can be connected to Claude. For example, I'll just do the ones that I have. Gmail, Google Calendar, Google Drive, like those three hold a lot of information. If you have thousands and thousands of emails that you don't read, it can go and sift through all those emails for you, pull up the ones that are that need your attention. And yes, it can draft emails and put them in your drafts on Gmail that you can just go right into and click send. So that's the powerful and time saver aspect of that specific aspect of this is like, you're like, hey, I need to draft up an email for this person. Can you read our whole entire thread and draft it up for me? And then it's done in 10 seconds and you can just go look at it in your inbox. So that's the power behind this stuff. So that's just like one example.